Good evening, everybody. Brendan Banfield has been found guilty of killing his wife, Christine Banfield, and Joseph Ryan. The verdict came back this afternoon around 5 o'clock Eastern is when it was read. He showed no emotion as the jury came back finding him guilty on all counts. He will now be sentenced on May 8th and could face life in prison. That's what we're talking about tonight here on Courtroom Insider. Glad you were with me. Appreciate you watching. Hope you had a great weekend. Appreciate you watching last night for kind of a wrap-up of what he said on the stand, Brendan Banfield, last week before it went to the jury, and tonight we'll be recapping that. Would love to know where you're watching from, and if you have any questions, excuse me. I've been on vacation the past week. Erica and I had a great time in Hawaii. We saw and did a lot of stuff, and it was nice to get away, especially in January. When we planned the trip, we figured that it would be a little different because normally we have feet of snow and it's freezing here. But we actually came back late Saturday, and yesterday we were playing croquet in our backyard. So I don't know what it is with the weather this year. Those of you on the East Coast or Midwest, send us some of your snow because we need it. I did stop by the place, and I'll show you this in just a minute. The hotel where I originally confronted Chad and Lori back in 2020, 6 years ago, happened to be there on the very date of that encounter, the anniversary of that date. We flew to Hawaii on the date that Eric and I, our old intern reporter, flew to Hawaii 6 years ago. Erica and I ended up flying there on the same date, and we didn't even plan it that way. It just so happened that that's how it's lined up. We'll talk about that in a minute. But first, I want to get to the verdict. Brendan Banfield, let's get straight to it. This is where he learned that he will be spending a long time, I imagine, in prison following the deliberations.
In criminal case number FE 2024-666, count 1, we, the jury on the issue, join in the case of the Commonwealth of Virginia versus Brendan Robert Banfield, defendant, find the defendant guilty of aggravated murder of Joseph Ryan and Christine Banfield as part of the same act or transaction. Case number FE 2024-666, count 4. We, the jury on the issue, joined in the case of the Commonwealth of Virginia versus Brendan Robert Banfield, defendant, find the defendant guilty of aggravated murder of Joseph Ryan within the same 3-year period during which he did also kill and murder Christine Banfield. In case number FE 2024-666, count 5, we, the jury on the issue, joined in the case of the Commonwealth of Virginia versus Brendan Robert Banfield, defendant, find the defendant guilty of using a firearm in the commission of a felony. In case number FE 2024-873, count 1, we, the jury on the issue, joined in the case of the Commonwealth of Virginia versus Brendan Robert Banfield, defendant, find the defendant guilty of child endangerment.
After that, the judge asked if either the prosecution or the defense wanted the jury pooled. The defense said yes, and here's what the jury pool said.
Would either side like the jury polled?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Members of the jury, if this is your verdict, please answer yes. If this is not your verdict, please answer no. Juror number 2. Juror number 5.
Yes.
Juror number 9.
Yes.
Juror number 10.
Yes.
Juror number 12.
Yes.
Juror number 19.
Yes.
Juror number 22.
Yes.
Juror number 25.
Yes.
Juror number 28.
Yes.
Juror number 32.
Yes.
Juror number 34.
Yes.
Juror number 37.
Yes.
Thank you.
The court does find that the jury verdict is unanimous at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, this completes your service in this case, and I know I speak for everybody that we thank you in this difficult case for all the time and attention you've taken to it. I do need you to go back to the jury room for one more time, and I'll be back there in a few minutes just to talk to you before you leave, okay? All right, so you're excused to the jury room. Thank you. All right. Mr. Banfield, in accordance with the jury verdict, I do find you guilty of aggravated murder on count 1 of 2024-666, and also count 4 of 2024-666, and count 5, commission of a felony with a firearm of 2024-666. Also on count 1 of 873 of child endangerment, I do find you guilty as found by the jury.
So now we await sentencing, which is on May 8th. I want to go back. I haven't had a chance to recap the closing arguments with you here. And closing arguments are not evidence. You can't consider it as solid evidence, but it kind of is a chance for you to the prosecution and the defense to wrap everything up all in one. Prosecution took about 20 minutes for their closing. Defense took like an hour and a half. It was a long closing for the defense. The prosecutor, this is how she started her closing argument.
We know that on February 24th, 2023, he executed his plan to murder his wife and an innocent stranger. He was in love with Juliana. He can pretend that this was a fling, an affair, he'd had them before, no big deal. He was in love with Juliana. He was afraid of losing her. He needed to get rid of his wife so that they could be together, so that they could marry, so that they could have those babies that he was picking out names for. Juliana told us how the plan was crafted and how it played out that morning in the Banfield house. But you've heard directly from our detectives and our experts the uncontradicted evidence of Brendan Banfield's culpability. You needn't rely only on Juliana's story. There has been a plethora of evidence to help you meet your burden in this case.
After that, she said that the evidence in the case, there's so much of it. There's digital evidence. There's no history of Christine ever using dating sites, porn sites, dating other men, anything like that. And had there been, she said the defense would have brought it up, and they didn't show anything like that. Here's what she said.
Brendan told you that more than 10 years ago, there were incidents of affairs involving rough sex. But you have zero evidence to corroborate that self-serving statement. Think about the 2 days of Mr. Lidsky's testimony for the defense and the 3 times that Detective Miller was called to this stand. If there was one scintilla of evidence that supported these claims of infidelity, of interest in sexual violence, don't you think you might have heard about it? The FetLife and Telegram contacts all occur on Christine's laptop, frequently while her phone is in use with something completely innocuous. You remember the frozen tickets, the Lululemon shopping, the family vacations the day before the murder? 2 devices, 2 different people. The FetLife and Telegram usage only ever occurred when Brendan Banfield and Juliana Perez-Magales are in the home. Is it at all plausible that this woman wouldn't take advantage of an empty house to engage in her plans for adultery? That on the 2 weekends that her husband and the nanny are out of the house, those are the 2 weekends where we see 0 FetLife activity, 0 Telegram activity?
She went on to list not only she talked about the digital evidence, the physical evidence, the 7 stab wounds to Christine's neck, the 4-inch knife blade that came from the kitchen, the fact that Joseph Ryan was shot twice, once in his head and once in his heart. She talked about the McDonald's, which we've discussed here, the McDonald's visit, how he went to the McDonald's and she said he waited for Juliana, the au pair, to call him, and then he went home. In fact, he went through the drive-thru, then he parked, then he went in the bathroom. It's like he was stalling. And here were the final words that the prosecution had on behalf of the Commonwealth.
Brendan Banfield and Juliana Perez-Magales colluded to kill Joseph Ryan and Christine Banfield. That makes sense. They created accounts, they chatted up potential victims, they got Joe Ryan into the house, and then they shot him. Brendan stabbed Christine, let her bleed out on the floor, and then dripped, smeared, and wiped her blood on Joseph Ryan's body to make it look like he had attacked Christine. Then they called the police. Brendan let Juliana take the fall, and it took a little bit of doing, but here we are, and it's his turn to be held accountable. All of this evidence can leave you with no doubt that Brendan Banfield killed Joseph Ryan and Christine Banfield. That is the first element of the aggravated homicide statute. The hard work is done. Element 2, that the killing was willful, done with a bad purpose, intentional, and deliberate. There can be no question in your minds as to the intentionality of this act, the deliberateness of this act. You must also find that it was premeditated, that at some point before the killing, he decided to kill Christine and Joe. I believe that we presented you with that evidence as well. For one of the offenses, you find that he killed 2 people within 3 years. As we've identified, same day, definitely within 3 years. For the other offense, you find that it was 2 people killed during the same transaction or occurrence. They were both killed in the room as part of the same plot, by the same person, same transaction or occurrence. The second offense is for the use of a firearm in the commission of the murders. We know from our experts that Joe Ryan died of his multiple gunshot wounds, one of which came from Brendan. If you have any question about whether or not Brendan can be held responsible when Juliana also shot Joseph Ryan, you'll have instruction O, that is concerted action. So I'm going to read to you what it says. If there is concerted action with the resulting crime, one of its incidental probable consequences, then whether such crime was originally contemplated or not, all who participate in any way in bringing it about are equally answerable and bound by the acts of every other person connected with the consummation of such resulting crime. Virginia makes it easy. Translate. If you think that Juliana Perez Magales and Brendan Banfield were working together to kill Christine and Joseph Ryan, then Brendan can be responsible for Joseph Ryan's death, regardless of which bullet did the most damage. It's not a test of either or. They were working together. That makes him equally responsible. The last charge is the endangerment to Valerie. So while in his custody, that the defendant willfully or negligently caused or permitted the life of such child to be endangered. He made it out to be Juliana's idea, but he brought Valerie into that home. He left her in the basement, knowing that Joe Ryan was upstairs. He left her in the basement while he shot and killed Joe Ryan. He left her in the basement while he stabbed his wife. He could have locked the door. He could have done this on a day she wasn't home. He could have made arrangements for someone else to have her overnight. But that didn't work with his plan. So he's guilty of this offense as well. I appreciate, again, all of the attention that you've given. I appreciate, again, all of the hard work you're about to face. Please be thoughtful in your deliberations. But at the end of the day, I don't think that there can be any reasonable doubt that Mr. Banfield has committed each and every one of the offenses that we have put before you today.
Again, the whole closing argument for the prosecution was around 20, 25 minutes. Then we switched over to the defense's closing argument, which was triple the time of the prosecution's. And he began and kind of had this theme throughout his argument that there was shoddy police work. In fact, that the officers who originally responded to the scene, they didn't put on the stand, and he wanted to question them. Here's what he said about that.
There are numerous things within this scene that we can see in pictures, but they were never tested. There are numerous things that became the centerpiece of the fantastic story that the Commonwealth tells, yet they were never tested. For example, if I were to have the opportunity to cross-examine, say, the chief detective of this case, I might ask, why wasn't there fingerprints done, or even DNA, of this gun safe that we hear about? We hear Juliana goes into the back bathroom and talks about getting a gun. It changes a little bit over time, but if someone had said they went to the gun safe, because we're talking about guns, we're talking about shooting, why wouldn't there be some sort of evidence to either corroborate or preclude that possibility? I asked Detective Leach, he says, well, it's really up to the forensic examiners. They make the decision. In looking at the scene, you'll notice in the body cam video that you're going to be reviewing, there's a point when first responders come in and you see Brendan kneeling down next to his wife, rendering aid. He just shot Joe Ryan. He testified yesterday, he puts the gun down to his right, which is where his holster is. And he also indicates to you in his testimony yesterday that he moves the knife away from Joe Ryan.
He went on to talk about the catfishing account, or saying that the catfishing explanation was ridiculous that the Commonwealth was putting up, along with FetLife and the messages, and said a couple times that the theory that the Commonwealth presented simply does not make sense.
In fact, why was there even a need to transition to Telegram? Because if you're on FetLife, it's clear there are FetLife communications. And so in the world of catfishing, if you think about it, you want to do as few things that can get you caught. So what was the leap to Telegram? It doesn't make any sense. In fact, this whole theory doesn't make any sense. And the only way the government can make any sense of it is if Juliana Perez Magalhaes adopts their story once again. As late as February 19th, which would be 5 days before Christine Banfield's death. Under the government's theory, there were dates that were being explored with 5 different FetLife users. Why? If Joe's already coming, why? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Juliana Perez Magalhaes is doing what probably anyone would do who's from another country, who comes here for an adventure, which is what au pair exchange is. It's essentially a cultural exchange. And the idea is you get to live in the country and you get to live like people in the United States. And then you go back at the end of your time. She knew at the point when she was hospitalized to the point of sickness as a result of what was going on in her life that she had to do something. And the Commonwealth and the police broke her.
So he says that Juliana had to cover herself and that Brendan really loved his wife. And when he walked in and saw Joseph Ryan attacking her, he was simply trying to protect his wife. He kind of wrapped around again to the police work and officers not being able to take the stand. And here is how the defense wrapped up their closing argument.
Is it reasonable after a 6 to 8 week affair that someone's going to try to get rid of their companion of 19 years, wife of 12 years? Is that reasonable? You heard from my client, he thinks it's absurd. In pursuing this case, the Commonwealth has presented absolutely no forensics evidence that supports that Brendan Banfield had anything to do with this. Yet the story continues. This isn't how justice works. And you can't just come up with a theory and make it fit. They're trying to sell you a story without any facts. And we have the facts, and those facts are in evidence. Those jury instructions, when you see them, you'll realize they're very clear. If you have doubts about the investigation, if you have doubts about how they've conducted this investigation, if you believe that there's something that's been held back in this investigation, that's reasonable doubt. That's reasonable doubt before you even get into the things that negate the possibilities of their case. And these are hard decisions. There's a lot on the line. But know this, if they fell short in what you expect should be the investigation, if they fell short, that's not on you. The jury instructions say you must acquit. And it's not on you. I don't have another opportunity to talk to you. It's their burden to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt, so they get the opportunity to speak. So I apologize if I've gone too long, but I wanted to make sure that these important issues came before you. And might leave you with these words. When they lie and manipulate to get someone to make a statement, that's not discovering the truth. That's planting the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention. Thank you for your patience. And at the end of your deliberations, I ask that you find my client not guilty of all charges.
And with that, the jury took the case. Again, they deliberated most of the day Friday and all day today. So it wasn't a slam dunk, quote unquote. It wasn't solved within an hour or two, but it definitely got there, and it was guilty on all counts. And Brendan Banfield will be sentenced on May 8th. So interesting trial, 11 days, including today. So about 10 days, a couple of days in there that they didn't have court because of the snow in Virginia. But this is one that a lot of people have been watching. And we have a couple coming up that we're going to be keeping an eye on. Tomorrow, Tyler Robinson is in court in Utah, and I will have a recap tomorrow night on Courtroom Insider. The whole issue is that somebody on the prosecution's team was at the Charlie Kirk event at Utah Valley University. And because of that, the defense wants to disqualify the prosecution and says that different attorneys need to come in. And that's what we will hear more tomorrow. We heard that a few weeks ago in a court hearing, and then they had to adjourn. So they'll be back on the stand tomorrow to see if that happens. There will be a live feed. You can start watching it at 1 o'clock Mountain Time on eastidahonews.com and our YouTube channel. We will have that. Then we will roll right into the Corey Richins hearing trial, which is scheduled to begin the end of the month. Here is the deal with that. Her attorneys last week filed a motion. They had filed a motion to have the trial moved out of Park City, which is Summit County, Utah, saying that it's a small town and they need it in a different venue. A judge denied the motion. It went all the way to the Supreme Court in Utah. Utah said, no, we're not going to hear it. Now her defense team has filed another motion asking again for the trial to be moved to Salt Lake City because they're saying they got all these jury questionnaires back and there's not enough jurors who have not heard about the case, and they're worried there won't be a fair and impartial jury convened. There will be a hearing on that. You do wonder, though, if the judge grants that. I don't know if in Salt Lake City there's going to be a courtroom available in 4 weeks to start. Actually, no. February 10th is when jury selection starts. You would have to convene a whole new jury panel, and this trial will get pushed off again, in my opinion. If it gets moved. If they're going to move it to Salt Lake, you got to give at least another 6 months, I would think, to send out more questionnaires and do it. I have a feeling the judges might deny this request again, and they'll just have to find the jury. It's okay if jurors have heard about the case. We saw this in Daybell. A few of the jurors had heard about it, but they still were able, they didn't have enough opinion. In fact, one of the jurors I interviewed said she walked in and she thought that Lori was an attorney sitting there at the attorney's table. They didn't think that she was the actual defendant. So we'll see what happens there. Regardless, I'll be ready to cover this. We'll do Courtroom Insiders every night once that trial gets started. It is scheduled for the moment to start on February 23rd. So 3 weeks from today. Anyway, that's where we're at there. Now, I talked about Daybell. Before I get to that, I want to talk a little bit about Savannah Guthrie's mother who is missing. This is crazy. This is crazy. I saw it this morning. Savannah Guthrie, co-host of the Today Show, her mom vanished Saturday night. So when we first saw the reports this morning, it was that she was missing. She's 84, no dementia, very mentally there, but physical restrictions keep her from walking 50 yards, the sheriff said. So it's not like she could walk out of her house. She lives in Tucson, Arizona, goes missing. Then a few hours later, the sheriff comes out and holds a news conference and says that it is a crime scene. Her home is a crime scene. She lives in the mountains above Tucson, very nice area. Here is what the sheriff said this morning about Savannah Guthrie's mom.
We saw some things at the home that were concerning to us. We believe now, after we processed that crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime, and we're asking the community's help. This community has always stepped up to help us solve some pretty tough crimes. I'm looking for that again. This is a 84-year-old lady who suffers from some physical ailments, has some physical challenges, is in need of medication. Medication that if she doesn't have in 24 hours, it could be fatal. So we make a plea to anyone who knows anything about this, who has seen something, heard something, to contact us. Call 911. We don't need another bad tragic ending. We need some help. Our team is the best. It is a crime scene. We know that. She needs her daily medication. And anybody that sees anything that even looks, hey, maybe that's her, just take a quick picture. Take a video, send it to us. The number is real easy here locally. It's 911. You can contact our 88 crime and remain anonymous. You can call me, anybody.
I just can't imagine. I mean, my parents are in their 70s. I cannot imagine if they just vanished. And then the police say it's a crime scene. Now, being in the public eye, of course, you do worry. And being a journalist, you do worry, like, is her family being targeted because of something she reported on? I don't know. That's speculation on my end. That's immediately where I went. And anytime an elderly person just goes missing from their home, and then the police say it's a crime scene, it's concerning. The police obviously know more than they're saying, it appears, and obviously have some sort of evidence. But it's just such a crazy, heartbreaking story. I read that just now that it sounds like Savannah Guthrie may not be going to the Olympics in Italy because of this, obviously. And the opening ceremonies were supposed to be this weekend, or are this weekend, and I guess they're going to do them without her. So anyway, I hope and pray for her family that they can get resolution here. Just a weird one. We'll keep an eye on it. I'll follow that one too. Okay. A quick update on Daybell. I went back to the Kauai Beach Resort, and I want to show you what the walk was like to be back. I know many of you are so over this. You're like, why do you keep talking about this? Well, I wanted to just show you. First of all, I'll show you the actual footage from January of 2022. 2020, January 26th. This, and you can check out the Kauai Beach Resort, and then I'll show you the new video that I shot with my wife, Erica. So here's from January 2020. Lori, Nate Eaton with East Idaho News. Can you tell me where your kids are? Where are your kids?
No comment.
No comment? They've been missing for 4 months. You have nothing to say? You're over here in Hawaii? Where are your children? Yeah, why don't you just give us a comment? Just tell us where they are. Chad, where are Lori's kids? What happened to Tammy, Chad? Can you tell us what happened to Tammy? Why have you guys been in Hawaii for so long? Listen, just tell people what's happening. There's people around the country praying for your children, praying for you guys. Why don't you give us answers?
That's great.
That's great. That's great that they're praying for you, praying for your kids. What? You have nothing to say? Did you do something to your children? Are your children still alive? That's a simple question. I've got 3 kids of my own. I can tell you every minute where my kids are at. Where are your children? What do you guys plan to do now? Are you you have 5 days to get your children in front of a judge in Rexburg, then what? Are you guys innocent of any crimes? Have you committed any crimes? Chad, you guys have a lot to say on your podcast. You don't have anything to say now? Lori? Do you believe that you were instructed by God or others to do something for your children? If you could give a message to them, what would you say? Listen, if you just talk to us, we'll leave you alone.
The family's worried. Tammy's family's very worried.
Tammy's family's very worried. Lori, your mother, Kay, came out. Kay and Larry, they're offering a $20,000 reward for your children. And you're over here on the beach? This is your chance to tell your story. Nothing you want to say? One last chance right here? Anything you want to say to the people in Idaho? Lori, you have a lot of cash there in your baggie. Were you guys planning to leave Hawaii? Were you planning to take off? Okay, so you've seen that. Now it was weird. This is the first time I've been back. It was weird for me to drive in. I don't say it was PTSD, but I really could recall so many moments in my head about that whole day. And here is the video I shot just a few days ago while I was in Hawaii with Erica. All right, we are here at the Kauai Beach Resort. I have not been here for 6 years. 6 years and 1 day, I should say, because 6 years ago and 1 day ago, I was here. Erica's holding the camera for me.
I was not here.
She was not here, but this is where I confronted Lori and Chad. In fact, I parked right where that red car is. We parked there. The gates were not here. We were able to come right in. Over here is where they pulled them over, right where that yellow-green Jeep is. And they did the search warrants and everything there. And then I confronted Chad and Lori. It originally started, towards me, right over here. So we walked from that area all the way over here. Here, should we walk it?
Yeah.
So these yellow barriers, they weren't up at that time. And police were all over here. We kind of stayed back here. It's kind of weird to be back, to be honest with you. In fact, a few days after I confronted them, we came back here to get some video. I actually backed into one of these poles on our rental car. So the last time that we were walking, you want to get in front of me? This is Eric is doing what Eric had to do, but they were walking like this. It was super fast.
I'd just like to state for the record, why didn't Nate bring me first off when he went to Hawaii?
So
rude.
It was this whole way trying to come up with questions, and then they cut across. Right over here. I'll show you where they cut across. And so this was quite a walk. Still a beautiful resort. I didn't know at the time that Lori had stayed here multiple times as a family. So yeah, cut over here. This is where they cut across. she had stayed here a lot, so she knew the resort well. Colby told me later that, this was one of her favorites. It's right on the beach, beautiful resort. So they cut up here. We were still walking. We were here with Shane from Dateline and Eric. And then it wasn't up there. It was right over here where they cut across. Sorry, this isn't very
Was it?
riveting. Yeah, it was right. You know what? This has changed. Oh, I think it was right up there. They went in this door. Maybe it was right down there. Anyway, that's where it was. And then I went in the lobby with Eric and we waited for like an hour to see if Chad and Lori would come out, and they didn't. They ended up staying the night here for a few nights, and then they went down to the Marriott at the other side of the island. And yeah, so this is 6 years and 1 day ago. We didn't plan this trip to be during this week, but it just so happened. So what do you think, hon?
It was a little eerie to walk those steps for a minute and relive that moment in the video.
It is.
But
Crazy to be back. They've changed the sign. We'll end over here. The sign used to say Kauai Beach Resort. Maybe I'll pull a snippet and show you here what it used to say. Maybe they changed the sign after that. No, I don't think they did. We're close to the airport. There's Hawaiian Air. It says Outrigger now. Still says Kauai Beach Resort, but they've changed the name. But this waterfall was here. That whole encounter with Chad and Lori wasn't supposed to happen because they were going to serve them the next day some papers, but they started to work their way from Princeville all the way down, and we're near the airport, and the police thought that they might be going to the airport. That's why they pulled them over here at the resort. Like, that wasn't supposed to happen, but we know that now. We didn't know that then, and we know a lot more now. So there you go. Reporting from Kauai, Nate Eaton. We're going to go back to our vacation. So you can see that the beach resort has changed a little bit, hasn't changed some. The sign's different. And it was nice to be back there, having the trial all done, have everything done. Knowing, I stood there for a minute just watching. Even my wife, even Erica said it was a little odd to be there. But I just looked out there and I'm like, if only I knew then what I know now, if only I could have told that young reporter, I still hope I'm young, like, just wait, Nate, just wait. I probably would have been scared and left. No, I wouldn't have, but it was just, it was nice to be back, but nice that it's over. Okay, so there we go. Thank you for watching tonight. We want to shout out newspapers.com. They're our sponsor. They have so many cool things on their website if you haven't checked it out, including, this was one thing that I've just had to bring to you, budget-friendly casserole recipes from the Great Depression. These were posted in the newspaper from everywhere, from the Oregon Daily Journal, the Miami News, Great Depression recipes. There were 11 recipes that you can find on newspapers.com. I think I need to go home and try some of these. There's hominy with eggs and cheese. I don't even know what hominy is. I probably should. This one came from the Buffalo, New York. Ham and vegetables in casserole. Savory cheese dish came from Michigan. Baked eggplant, casserole on leftovers. So leftover casserole of a casserole. Delicious. That's from the Waco Times-Herald. Beef stew and casserole. A lot of casseroles. Casserole of pork, apples, and cabbage. Sauerkraut and frankfurters. Casserole dinner. So many casseroles. Piquant ham and casserole. One dish dinner. They're all on there, and you can go through. There's 7 helpful hints for making vintage recipes. There's so many really cool things on newspapers.com. Fun, lighthearted stuff like the recipes, more serious stuff, and of course, obituaries if you want to go search through there. Newspapers.com is our sponsor of Courtroom Insider, and we're glad they're with us, and we appreciate all they do. So check them out. Here's where you can check me out. That sounds weird. Go to my Facebook, go to my Insta, go to my X, and go to YouTube and subscribe if you haven't. Really appreciate you, all of you. And I have to shout out the wonderful folks at South Fremont Junior High this morning. I went and spoke to their 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. They have what's called Hope week, which is to help children who feel alone or who feel lonely, really who have, mental concerns. And it's all about how we can all make a difference. And so I was asked to speak this morning, and I spoke about hope and stories I've covered that have brought hope. And they gave me, at the end, they gave me this picture. There's a game called Date Ideas, and they're scratch-offs for date ideas and a gift card. And I love it because if you've been following me on Facebook, I've been documenting the dates that Erica and I are doing every week this year. Posting about each date every week, and we're having a lot of fun. So if you have date ideas for me, let me know, because I'm always looking for good ideas. And thanks to the good folks and kids at South Fremont Junior High. Some of you might be watching. I had a good time being with you today. Okay, we'll be back tomorrow night at 7 o'clock Mountain to talk about the Charlie Kirk alleged shooter in court. You can watch the hearing tomorrow at 1 p.m. on East Idaho News. And appreciate you watching, everybody. Have a good night. We'll see you later.